वृंदाविक गिरिधारी शिष्य राधा विनोद बिहारी जू की जाय। श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन जू की जाय। नित्यालप विष्णु विष्णुपार शुतर शुत जय शिशि राधा नयननाथ जू की जय। जय नित्यालप विष्णु विष्णुपार शुतर शुत श्रीमद भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जय। नित्यालप विष्णु विष्णुपार शुतर शुत श्रीमद भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जय। नित्यालप विष्णु विष्णुपार शुतर शुत श्रीमद भक्ति वेदांत साई महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। नित्यालप विष्णु विष्णुपार शुतर शुत श्रीमद भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जय। नित्यालप विष्णु विष्णुपार शुतर शुत श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जय। नित्यालप विष्णु महाभगवत शिल गोक्षरदास बाबाजी महाराज की जय। नित्यालप विश्व शिव सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। नित्यालप विष्णु वैष्णव सार्वभौम शिल जगन्नाथ दास बाबाजी महाराज की जय। श्री रूपानु गौरिया गुरु वर्ग की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ शारद गोसाई प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जय। नाम जय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदत्त गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। जय नित्यालप विष्णु विष्णुपाद श्रीमार भक्ति विज्ञान भारती गोसाई महाराज की जय। नित्यालप विष्णु विष्णुपाद श्रीमार भक्ति बल्लभ तीर्थ गोसाई महाराज की जय। नित्यालप विष्णु विष्णुपाद श्रीमार भक्ति दायित माधव गोसाई महाराज की जय। नित्यालप विष्णु विष्णुपाद शुतर शुत श्रीमार भक्ति प्रमोद पुरी गोसाई महाराज की जय। नित्यालप विष्णु विष्णुपाद शुतर शुत श्रीमद भक्ति रक्षक श्रीधर गोसाई महाराज की जय। All the associates of Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And all the disciples of the associates, and all the grand disciples of the associates and great grand disciples of ki jai. Jai Shri Hari Nam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrind ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur. Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Shri Siddhanta Saraswati Vidito Gaudiya Gaurvanvaye Bhato Bhanuriva Prabhata Gagane Yogora Sankirtanaye Maya Bharati Mingilo Daragatanu Jiva Niman Krishna Prema Sudabdika Hana Sukhang Pradat Prabhung Tang Bhaje Vande Bhakti Vinodam Shri Gaura Shakti Surupakam Bhakti Shastragya Samrajam Radha Rasa Sudha Nidhim Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये भक्त्या विहीना अपराधलक्षाय क्षिप्ताष्टकामादितरङ्गमध्ये कृपामयि त्वं शरणं प्रपन्ना वृन्दे नमस्ते चरणारविन्दम् भज श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. We'll just recite, I'll recite the pranam mantra for Srila Bhakti Vallabha Tirtha Goswami Maharaj. One second, let me make it bigger. I'm not going to read the translation this time, though. We'll just recite the Sanskrit. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Shri Gaura Priyamurtaye Srimate Bhakti Vallabha Tirtha Goswami Namine Mayavara Vikhandanam Purorvanyanukirtanam Paschadeshopadeshakam Prasanna Vadanam Sada Shuddha Bhakti Pravahakam Shuddha Bhakti Bhagiratam Bhakti Daita Madhava Bhinna Tanung Namamyaham Nama Sankirtanamrita Rasaswada Vidhayakam Krishnamnaya Kripamurtim Acharyang Tang Namamyaham Gauranama Pracharardrang Bhakta Sevanukangshitam Satirtha Vritti Sadbhava Naumi Tirtha Mahashayam. Jai. All right, so let's see who is all here. Dandavat pranams, Rukmini Didi, Nri Hari Prabhu, Bhavatarani Mataji, Yashoda Didi, Nitai Mukeshji, Anadi Krishna Prabhu, Prajumna Prabhu, Mantramurti Mataji, and Vangshiwala Prabhu. And any other devotees watching on YouTube and Facebook. Also, pranams to all the devotees watching in the future. Haribol. I'm guessing Sachi Devi will be watching in the future. I just saw your comment yesterday. Done about pranams. All right. So let's begin. Sweet, sweeter, sweetest. Divine pastimes of Jagadguru Nityal Pravishta Om Vishnupad Shishimad Bhakti Balavat Tirtha Goswami Maharaj. Written by Shripad Bhakti Suhrit Paramadvaiti Maharaj. Who, when he wrote this, he was Prahlad Prabhu, and he took sannyas, accepted sannyas maybe a couple years ago. All right. So yesterday we read the foreword and preface, and today we will begin section 1, the Peerless Master. And this forms like about half of the book, this section. It's 22,000 words. All right. Oh, and if anybody has anything that they want to say at any point, feel free to jump in. Oh, and Haribol Vidilala Sadidi. Haribol. Okay. Our most revered Srila Gurudev, Paramahansa Parivrajacharya, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad, Ashtatarashata Shishimad Bhakti Balavat Tirtha Goswami Maharaj, is celebrated as a crest jewel of the Gaudiya Vaishnav lineage. He is the very personification of the most illustrious mood of surrender and the perfect order carrier of his spiritual master. Richly endowed with Vaishnav ornamental qualities such as humility and simplicity, his conduct has set the highest standard of an example for all. His magnanimity is as broad as the sky and as deep as the ocean. He is an embodiment of love, care, and affection, a symbol of steadfastness, and a hallmark of devotional enthusiasm. Through his exemplary devotional traits, Srila Gurudev won over the hearts of all Vaishnavas and became a recipient of the bountiful blessings of his Guru Varga. All the senior Vaishnavas. Those who, Guru Varga, we know. Pleased with his submission and service efforts, his Gurudev, Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishimad Bhakti Dait Madhav Gosai Maharaj, once he said, pleased with his submission and efforts, his sincere efforts, he said, Srila Bhakti Dait Madhav Gosai Maharaj said, I have many disciples, but the one who lives up to my heart's satisfaction is Tīrtha Maharaj. His humility and respect for his superiors drew the attention of many other stalwart disciples of Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. As some of them, such as Param Pujapad Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Gosai Maharaj and Param Pujapad Srila Bhakti Sora Bhakti Sar Gosai Maharaj said, Tīrtha Maharaj is a topmost Vaishnav. He is an embodiment of Mahaprabhu's third verse of Shikshashtak, Trinadapi Sunichena. Your life will become successful if you submit to him. What is it? I've always wanted this. When it says vis is short for the Latin videlicet, which itself is a contraction of the Latin phrase, means namely, that is to say, to wit, which is as follows. Okay, sorry, I've always wondered that. Okay. So, Srila Bhakti Puri Gosai Maharaj and Srila Bhakti Sora Bhakti Sar Gosai Maharaj said that your life will become successful if you submit to him. He is the embodiment of the verse Trinadapi Sunichana. He's a topmost Vaishnava. Srila Gurudev considered his god brothers as expansions of his Gurudev, and he offered him his sincere love and respect, thereby earning an exalted place in their hearts. While taking his name with absolute reverence, the present members of the Vaishnav community venerably rise to their feet, offering their heartfelt salutations. They regard him as an effulgent sun in the Gaudiya sky. Thus, he won the accolades of the Vaishnavas of all three generations, his Guru Varga, his Guru Bhai, his godbrothers and equals, and Shishya Varga, his disciples and the like. Srila Gurudev's submission to the Parampara was exceptional. He was steadfastly uncompromising in following the orders of his predecessor acharyas and did not accept anyone's deviation from them. Thus, he is a true ambassador of the Gaudiya Vaishnav lineage during his time and a matchless master. Any serious votary who sincerely wants to seek the shelter of a truly bona fide guru for his own eternal welfare will undoubtedly end his search at the lotus feet of Srila Gurudev. Who in the three worlds could possibly sing the glories of a transcendental personality such as Srila Gurudev sufficiently? His virtues are unfathomable. No one has the capacity to discover the boundaries of the vast ocean of his infinite qualities, in spite of diving in it for millions of lifetimes. His glory and excellence in devotion goes on ad infinitum. Okay, so attributing all glory to Sri Guru. I really love this section, is so inspiring. It's all about how he didn't see him, even though he did so much in this one particular service, he didn't see himself as the doer at all. He only saw it all as his, he saw it as Srila Bhakti Madhav Goswami Maharaj is doing everything. Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1:3 verses 25 to 26 describes the qualities of a devotee in the stage of Bhav Bhakti as 1. Asaktis tar gunakyane, always eager to sing the transcendental qualities of his beloved Lord while taking immense pleasure in doing so. And 2, Pritis tad vasati stale, possessing a fondness for the places where his dearmost Lord performed his divine pastimes. Haribol Ganga Mataji. A devotee is submerged by a fresh wave of ecstasy every time he sings the glories of the Lord of his heart. He seeks even the slightest of opportunities to visit those places that are lila udipak, stimulants of the transcendental pastimes. So these two qualities, asaktis tar gunakyane and pritis tar vasati stale. In early May 2010, Srila Gurudev was staying at Kolkata Math. Lord Jagannath's Chandan Yatra festival was approaching. During this festival, the Lord goes on a palanquin to Chandan Sarovar for a boat ride in the evening. This continues for 21 days. As in Puridam, the festival is observed with a great splendor at our, as in Puridam, this festival is absorbed with a great splendor in our Agartala Math. Srila Gurudev expressed his desire to participate in this festival at Agartala Math, and he asked us, his sevaks, to book the tickets. Out of concern for his health at his advanced age, we requested him to postpone the trip. One day, Srila Gurudev invited us all into his room and affectionately described the glories of Agratala Math. He mentioned that only by virtue of the uncommon divine qualities of his Gurudev, Nityalila Pravishta Vishnupad, Shishimad Bhakti Dait Madhav Gosvāmī Mahārāja, referred to as Srila Param Gurudev henceforth, the place where due to Param Gurudev, the place where the Agartala Math is currently standing could be obtained. Further, he said that it would not be good if he did not go there. When we pleaded with him to postpone the trip, he said, "If you had known the glories of our Gurudev and the way he procured the land in Agartala with his distinctive craft, you would certainly not say no. You should understand the glories of that place before advising me not to go there." And then he went on to describe the entire episode, showing great resolve to visit there. Let's see the entire episode in Appendix 1. Okay, so the establishment of the Math at Agartala. Oh, and by the way, there's one Mataji, Malati Mataji. She's a disciple of Śrīla Vamana Goswami Maharaj. One of the main, she's very active in preaching and very senior, very, very wonderful Vaishnavi. I remember very senior. And but yeah, every year she'd collect so many bags of rice and get so many people to come for Navadip Parikrama. She was like a huge help in our Navadip Parikrama for bringing people and rice and different supplies and all that kind of stuff. And she was just a few days ago, I went to visit her at Keshivji Gaudiya Math, and she just got a place right next to Agartala Math there. And she gave me she put money in my hands and she said, "This is money for your train ticket for your journey to get to Agartala Mat." So she like very strongly wants me to go there and to her place there. She said she built like a whole temple there. And yeah, I think I might go soon though. Okay, so the following is an excerpt from a lecture delivered by Srila Gurudeva on May 30th, 2010, in an evening religious assembly at Sri Jagannath Mandir, Agartala. It is an abridged version. Oh, and Rukmini Didi, is it Agartala or is it yeah, am I pronouncing it right?
I think there is a at the end, Agartala, but
Okay.
I
Agar-
think if it's a place name, then they try not to put diacritical marks because then excuse me, that doesn't match with how the place is spelt. So I
Yeah,
think it's
that's what we did with the
Agartala.
Srila Vaman Goswami Maharaj book. We did it like that. But then sometimes because sometimes they write the place name so strangely, I get confused how to pronounce it. Okay, so
Yeah,
Agratala, is that you think that?
Agartala. Yeah,
Okay, Agratala.
Agartala.
Okay, great. Um, okay, so this is given on at an assembly at the Sri Jagannath Mandir at Agratala. It is an abridged version of the history of Agratala Mat. Interested readers are requested to go through the book, The Complete Biography of Sri Srimad Bhakti Madhav Goswami Maharaj, Vishnupad, for a more detailed account of the events. Okay, so one time in 1974, Sri Gopal Chandra De, a rich merchant of Agartala city, came to Kolkata Mat and repeatedly requested our revered Gurudev to go to Agartala to preach and establish a mat. Revered, uh, revered Gurudev did not show much interest. However, undeterred, Gopal De approached him again and again with his request. He said, "There are many lineages in Agartala, but none of them propagate unalloyed devotion. Even though they claim them, even though they claim themselves to be Vaishnavas, their conduct is unrighteous and they eat prohibited foods. I'm submitting this request to you because there is a compelling need to start a Gaudiya Mat at that place to teach proper Vaishnav conduct. In spite of this, do you say revered or revered? I don't actually know. I was good.
I say
Um,
revered.
okay. In spite of this, our revered Gurudev did not give any commitment to him. Another day, he came to our Gurudev after booking several flight tickets in the name of some sannyasis and brahmacharis and said, "Now, please do not deny my request. It is my earnest submission at your feet." Revered Gurudev finally agreed. He already bought the tickets. In Agratala, we stayed at the house of Gopal De. He arranged for our Gurudev's Harikatha at various places, including his own house. Gopal De took us to his brick factory in Chandrapur, which is outside the city. He exhibited his interest to purchase land in that area to start a branch of the Mat. However, our Gurudev did not reveal his interest at that time. A few days later, we returned to Kolkata. In spite of our Gurudev's refusal, Gopal De had purchased some land in the name of the Mat at Chandrapur and had erected a sign there that read, "Site of Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Mat." Wow, he is very he's a go-getter or whatever the word is. Observing this kind of enthusiasm, observing the kind of enthusiasm Gopal De had for the establishment of our Mat in Agratala, our Gurudev was moved. In our next visit, Gopal De offered his house in Chandrapur to start the activities of the Mat on a temporary basis. The house was on the bank of a pond adjacent to a beautiful garden. Our Gurudev then returns to Kolkata after ordering some brahmacharis to stay there and start the activities of the Mat. Yeah, Gopal De would not take no for an answer, huh? You just go ahead. But yeah, Srila Bhaktivinoda Tirtha Goswami Maharaj liked that enthusiasm. So Gopal De wanted a permanent branch of Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Mat to be constructed at that site. And our Gurudev was ready for that. However, a local engineer, Shri Manik Sen, told us that the designated area was low-lying and there would be floods in the rainy season. He suggested that it would be better to establish a mutt in Agratala city proper. Gopal De took our revered Gurudev in his car to show him various places in the city, including Sri Jagannath Mandir, which is situated next to the assembly house. When the chief minister at that time, Sri Sukhamoy Sen Gupta, was approached, he said that the then revenue minister, Sri Krishna Das Bhattacharya, was responsible for matters pertaining to the temples in the city. Subsequently, our Gurudev took me and a few other devotees along with him to Sri Krishnadasa's house to meet him. As soon as the revenue minister beheld our Gurudev's transcendently imposing personality radiating a golden effulgence, a form the likes of which he had never before encountered, he immediately became captivated by him. Within his mind, he had decided to give the services of Sri Jagannath Mandir to our mutt, although he did not disclose it to any of us at that time. The charming demeanor of our revered Gurudev rightfully swayed both the chief minister and revenue minister. And as a result, they made a concerted effort to get the services of Sri Jagannath Mandir handed over to Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math. Finally, after crossing over so many obstacles that presented themselves on the way, in 1976, Sri Jagannath Mandir was registered in the name of our mutt. On the day when the mandir was to be officially handed over to our mutt, I arrived at the site with a group of devotees. Soon the officers of the state government also arrived. However, the only servant in the temple had completed the deity's daily worship early, and had then left the place, locking all the doors and gates. Thus, his absence delayed the process. Slowly, one after the other, the officers and devotees left, but I stayed. If I were to leave, the government officers might say later that the formalities could not be completed because I was not present. So I did not move from there. When the revenue minister came to know about the delay in the proceedings, he immediately telephones the district magistrate. But then it was almost dusk. Oh, wow, so he'd waited there all day. Wow. The magistrate gave a very strict order to his subordinate officers to expedite the process. By the time a team of these officers arrived, the temple servant also returned and opened the doors. The place was finally handed over officially to our mutt. Our revered Gurudev offered honorarium to the makers of Sri. Is that how you say that? Honorarium? Just kind of.
Yes.
Okay, that means a payment given for professional services that are rendered nominally without charge. Okay, cool. So our revered Gurudev offered honorarium to the makers of Sri Baladev Subhadra Jagannath deities in Puri Dham to manifest these three deities for Agartala's Jagannath Mandir as well. In 1977, when their Nava Kalevar, the acceptance of newly transcendental deity forms, when that Nava Kalevar festival was being observed in Puri Dham, the freshly manifested deities were brought to Agartala from Puri Dham and installed grandly. Okay, so as we can see, this is Srila Bhakti Ballabha Tīrtha Goswami Maharaj. He was the one who made all this happen, but he had absolutely no abhiman of being the doer. Let's see. Okay, so now we're coming back to, now this is, Shripad Paramadvaiti Maharaj writing again. So when we pleaded with him to postpone the trip, he said, "If you had known the glories of our Gurudev and the way he procured the land in Agartala with his distinctive craft, you would certainly not say no. You should understand the glories of that place before advising me not to go there." He went on to describe the entire episode, showing great resolve to visit there. Whenever we requested Srila Gurudev to postpone his trip to Agartala, he repeated its glories. However, at no point did he exhibit impatience or anger toward us. On the contrary, he took it as an opportunity to speak about the importance of the place and the extraordinary qualities of his Gurudev that made him so successful in each of his service attempts. In this way, he would repeat those glories to us at least 2 to 3 times a day. Seeing his resolve, we finally booked flight tickets to Agartala. When we informed him of this, he was filled with delight. Nonetheless, he continued to repeat the glories of Agartala Mutt and his Gurudev almost every day till the date of our journey. Thus, he took immense pleasures in singing the glories of his Gurudev. After we arrived at Agartala, Srila Gurudev was extremely blissful as he related his Gurudev's pastimes in connection with that land. On May 30th, 2010, he was scheduled to speak Harikatha at the evening assembly. He recited his Gurudev's unparalleled efforts several times to us during the day. In the evening, he started his Harikatha by saying, "The main person behind securing this place for our mutt in Agartala is our most revered Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Ashutarashata Shishimad Bhakti Dait Madhav Gosvāmī Mahārāja." In the middle of Harikatha, he said, "The chief minister and revenue minister of Agartala became attracted by the extraordinary personality of our Gurudev and took a special interest in getting the Jagannath temple handed over to Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math." And toward the end of the Harikatha, he emphatically spoke, "Who possesses the ability to get this land? If Gurudev were not present, would it be possible? Our Gurudev is no ordinary person." After the Harikatha, he spoke the glories of his Gurudev to us while he was on his way to his bhajan kutir. Inside his bhajan kutir, he sat on his cot and spoke about the matchless and untiring efforts of his Gurudev to obtain the desired land in Agartala. He had related his Gurudev's unwavering service attempts umpteen times. But what he did not mention, all these times, was the many hardships he himself had to undergo to get the land registered in the name of our mutt. He had to forego eating, sleeping, and several other bodily necessities to fulfill his Gurudev's desire. Right? Wasn't it like he went there in the morning? I mean, there probably is other instances also, but what we just read, that he went in the morning time and the Pujari left all the way till dusk. He just waited there. So the full day from morning till dusk, he just stood out there waiting. So foregoing eating, sleeping, other bodily necessities. So the events that Srila Gurudev did not mention went like this. Okay, so these are the events that he didn't mention. Even though the chief government authorities were in favor of giving the land to our mutt, there were many hurdles obstructing the way. The journey from that point had not been easy. Srila Gurudev, as a secretary of the mutt at that time, frequently met the government officials in Agartala, as well as a lawyer in Kolkata, which involved traveling to both of these places several times. He also had a lot of written communication with the government personnel and the lawyer. During this time, he traveled extensively with Srila Param Gurudev and assisted his preaching efforts at various locations across India, while he also took care of other administrative duties of the mutt. This continued for almost 3 years. Finally, when the actual date of handing over the responsibilities of the site came, Srila Gurudev and the government officials arrived there. However, the pujari of the temple, from whom the charge of the site needed to be taken, had locked the gate and left the place. Srila Gurudev waited for him all day long without food and water. He did not even go to the restroom, fearing that the government agents might leave, using the excuse that he was not present at the particular needed moment. However, at last, the land was registered and handed over to Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math due to his persistent effort, much to the pleasure of Srila Param Gurudev. Yet whenever he spoke about Agartala Math to us, Srila Gurudev did not mention these efforts by him. On that particular day, when he was speaking about his Gurudev in an absorbing manner inside his bhajan kutir in Agartala, I could not contain myself and suddenly spoke out. I suddenly spoke out of overexcitement. I said, "You also played a vital role in getting this land. You also contributed to it." However, my outburst of unsolicited speech was absolutely unacceptable to him. He could not entertain my act of giving credit to his efforts while he was chanting the glories of his Gurudev. His lotus eyes became red with anger, and he glared at me without uttering a word. Perhaps he thought that I might not be able to tolerate his chastisement at this point. But there was no need for any special admonishment anyway, as his stare alone conveyed his complete dissatisfaction with my foolishness. I had learned my first lesson. Conditioned souls, out of ignorance and false pride, think they are the doers. They consider themselves as the heroes of a task, and think that had it not been them, the particular activity would have not become successful. On the other hand, the pure devotees understands that everything becomes possible only by the grace of Sri Guru and the Supreme Lord. Srila Prabhupada said, "The followers of Sri Rupa Goswami do not place their faith in their own powers, but rather attribute all glory to the fountainhead of those powers." And that is from Patravali, Srila Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada's Patravali, his letters. And a fortnight later, yeah. One second, I just need to, whatever, doesn't matter. Srila Gurudev is a legendary example of this teaching of Srila Prabhupada, that the followers of Srila Rupa Goswami do not place their faith in their own powers, but rather attribute all glory to the fountainhead of those powers. So Srila Gurudev is a legendary example of this teaching of Srila Prabhupada. We observed on numerous occasions that whenever he spoke about the efforts involved in securing land in Agartala, in Puri Dham, or in Chandigarh, he would ascribe everything to his Gurudev. Even though he had put forth so much personal effort at each of these places, he decried accepting any credit for himself. After participating in Lord Jagannath's Chandan Yatra festival in Agartala, Srila Gurudev attended Snan Yatra in Chakdaha, and a fortnight later partook in the Rath Yatra festival in Purushottam Dham. In Agartala, as well as Puri, he initiated sincere votaries into Krishna Nam and Krishna Mantra. He then returned to Kolkata and stayed there for approximately 2 months. And here's a picture. Here's the PDF of what we're reading. I think there's a picture, let's see, of the Agartala. Yeah. Here's the deities of Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra at the Agartala Mat. So beautiful, huh? All right. Okay, so now the next section is his unprecedented mercy floods the world. And Hare Krishna Shasharamaji. And Chatamai Mataji, Haribo. And Yashoda Didi. Okay. Several devotees, particularly those from outside India, used to send their spiritual questions to Srila Gurudev via email or some other means. And during his free time, which was usually the time between his lunch and afternoon rest, we would hear his replies to those queries. One afternoon, when Srila Gurudev was sitting relaxed on his easy chair, I read out a question about Jiva Tattva to him. As soon as he heard it, a sense of earnestness was seen in him as he straightened his back from a leaning posture. He started his reply to this question by narrating the life story of King Bharat, who left his kingdom and family and entered the forest to perform Hari Bhajan, but became attached to a baby deer upon seeing its helpless condition. Ultimately, he became a deer in his next life because of his remembrance of the deer at the time of his death. Srila Gurudev, in his reply, seriously warned everyone against wasting this extremely rare but precious human birth by spending time uselessly for fulfilling material sense desires, thereby missing the ultimate target. Srila Gurudev continued, the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna and the jivas, the living entities, are eternally related to each other. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has termed this relation as achintya bheda bhed. This means that the living entities are simultaneously one with and different from the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna by dint of his inconceivable potencies. So then he continued, when I was at home, I had several doubts about Jiva Tattva, Bhagavad Tattva, etc. And I used to write letters to my most revered Srila Gurudev. In one of his letters, he asked me to read the book Jaiva Dharma, written by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I went to a library in Gwalpara and had that book issued. After I studied the book thoroughly, all my doubts were clarified. You may also read that book. All your questions will be answered. It was getting late in the afternoon, so I asked Srila Gurudev to take rest. I told him that I would draft a reply and show it to him after his afternoon rest was over. He appeared to be extremely eager to shower more mercy upon the questioner, and eventually on all of us. However, I urged him to take rest. Reluctantly, he rose from his easy chair and rested on his bed as the lights were dimmed. After paying my obeisances, I came out of his room and started to do some other less important activities, rather than starting to draft the reply. After about 5 minutes, Srila Gurudev rang the bell to call me. And so there's a footnote. He says, Srila Gurudev used bells to call sevaks if he needed any assistance from them. So after 5 minutes, when he was supposed to be resting, then Srila Gurudev rang the bell to call me. Initially, he did not like to use the bell to call a Vaishnav, classifying it as being impolite and against Vaishnav etiquette. He said, the Vaishnavas are servants of the Mat. I am not their boss. How can I order anyone? He did not like to engage anyone in his service. He did everything himself. If there should be an absolute need for someone's assistance, he would personally go to that Vaishnav and politely ask for help. After repeated requests by the Vaishnavas for several years, he started using a bell to call the sevaks. But he never addressed his sevaks as my sevaks. Instead, he referred to them as servants of the Mat, our helpers or our well-wishers inside his bhajan kutir. I went inside and saw that he was in a thoughtful state, as he said, there are 8,400,000 kinds of living entities, including the birds and beasts. Jalaja navalakshani stavara lakshavingshati krimayo rudra sankhya pakshinam dashalakshanam tringsal lakshani pashava chatur lakshani manusha. He said this verse says, there are 900,000 forms of life in the water, 2 million forms of trees and other plants. There are 1.1 million species of insects and reptiles, and 1 million species of birds. There are 3 million varieties of beasts, and 400,000 human species. So we must pass through 8 million different forms of life before we can come to the human form of life. The human birth is very rare. So he's continuing to speak what he wants this Prahlad Prabhu to write in the letter. He says, the human birth is very rare, and one should not waste this precious opportunity. The Supreme Lord is pleased after creating the human beings because they have the capacity to worship him. So it is unwise to squander this most valuable human birth in the pursuit of mundane pleasures. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada said that the only duty in this human birth is to endeavor for our highest eternal welfare. Labdva sadurlabhamidang bahusam bhavante Manusham artadama nityamapi hadhira. Turnamyate tanapateranumritu yavan. Nishreyasaya vishaya kalu sarvata syat. Srimad Bhagavatam 11:9-29. After innumerable births, we have been born as human beings. Therefore, this human birth is very rare. Although it is impermanent, it bestows the highest benefit of serving the Supreme Lord and offers the opportunity to attain the highest objective permanently. It is the actual duty of all the human beings to try their utmost to achieve the highest welfare. Therefore, a person who possesses actual knowledge will endeavor for his highest eternal welfare before another death occurs, because in all other births, we only achieve connection with non-eternal worldly objects, which cause intense suffering. However, actual eternal welfare is not possible in other births. You should also write this in your reply, Srila Gurudev said. I took his permission and came out of his room to allow him a timely rest. He rang the bell one more time after 5 minutes. When I went inside, he continued. Our most revered Param Guru Pad Padma, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Ashwatarashata, Shishimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, spoke on the Labdhva Sudurlabham verse for 1 month at Ultadanga Road, Kolkata. In spite of that, he was not fully satisfied, as he felt that he could not finish explaining the verse entirely. During one of those days, 2 students of Scottish Church College, Kolkata, came there, and that's the college that Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada went to, right? So during one of those days, 2 students of Scottish Church College, Kolkata, came there. Fixing his merciful glance upon them, Srila Prabhupada said that even a moment of this human birth should not be wasted without performing Hari Bhajan. The 2 students said that they had come only to see what was happening there and that they had to return to their homes. In reply, Srila Prabhupada said, Purnam, immediately you should start worship of the Supreme Lord, because you may lose this rare opportunity at any moment. The 2 students, baffled at the force with which Srila Prabhupada was speaking to them, replied, Oh, what if our houses burn? Who will stop the fire if we do not go there? Srila Prabhupada then exclaimed, Let them burn. The students replied, If we do not stop the fire, our neighboring houses will also be burned. To this, Srila Prabhupada emphatically stated, Let the entire world burn. Still, you will not lose anything, because you are Brahma Bhuta. You are of the Lord and from the Lord, not Jagat Bhuta. You're not of this world and from this world. Srila Gurudev continued. Later, the 2 students stayed in the mat. You should write this also in your reply. It is not wise to waste this human birth uselessly. After listening to that affectionate caution, I once again paid my obeisances to him and came out of his room. Although I witnessed the sincerity with which Srila Gurudev replied to the question, I did not sense the immediacy of my duty to draft a reply. I was sitting in the room outside Srila Gurudev's Bhajan Kutir and engaged myself with some duties of lesser importance on my computer. Suddenly, I realized that he was trying to open the door of his room from inside. I stood up and helped him. Standing at the doorstep, looking ever more concerned and compassionate. He did not waste a second to speak out. Prahlad Maharaj said to the demoniac boys, Ko mara acharit pragyo dharman bhagavatan iha durlabam manusham janma tad apya dhruvam artadam. That's Srimad Bhagavatam 761. After attaining this most rare human birth in this world, a person who is sufficiently intelligent gives up all his endeavors for temporary material pleasures and executes the principles of Bhagavat Dharma, starting from the tender age of childhood. Although this human body is temporary, it is meaningful, In other words, despite the transient nature of this human life, the practice of devotional activities, even for a moment, will award the highest welfare. With genuine affection, Srila Gurudev said softly, "The human birth is very rare. It should not be squandered in the pursuit of temporary pleasures. Those who have attained a human birth should only worship the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Do you understand? You should write this in reply to that question." I was struck with wonder and was touched in the deepest core of my heart upon seeing his causeless compassion for all the human beings. He had already stated the importance of the human birth several times in reply to this question, but to re-emphasize it and to urge us toward proper utilization of it, he had taken the pain of getting up from his bed and walked all the way over to me. Perhaps he thought that I might get annoyed with his repeated ringing of the bell to convey the same message. Or he, as Antaryami, all-knower, understood that I had not taken his message seriously enough due to being preoccupied with other jobs. Or maybe he thought that it was his responsibility to urge everyone to perform Hari Bhajan immediately. I feel that we are not as sincere to bring about our own welfare as much as he is willing to award it to us. His genuineness in every act is most profound and provides a lesson for one and all. His magnanimity is like an ocean whose beauty and vastness renders one speechless. I assisted Srila Gurudev back to his bed and came out of his room after he had retired. This time, I took his message to heart and started to draft a reply. I had proofread the draft several times and kept it ready. After Srila Gurudev rose from his afternoon rest, although I'm not sure whether he really had one, he immediately called me inside his room to check if I was ready with a draft. I brought my corrected draft and showed it to him. He was very quick to identify some mistakes in the draft. At a glance, he could precisely identify the areas where I was neglectful or the places that had not received my complete effort. Should 99% effort be accorded, then he would quickly point out the missing 1%. He always applied extreme care and caution to each of his writings and advised everyone to follow that. He did not approve any inadequate attempt. Srila Gurudev said, "You should write in such a way that there is no possibility of ambiguity. Each word has several meanings. You should use appropriate words so that there is no scope of deviation from the true implication of what is to be conveyed." As per Srila Gurudev's suggestions, a few corrections were implemented in the draft. He then asked me to send the answer to all the disciples, not just to the questioner alone. The next few days, he checked with me whether or not the devotees had received his reply, whether they had gone through it, whether they liked it, or if anyone wanted to know anything further in this regard. Srila Gurudev's sincerity to award true benefits to all living beings is an example of his benevolence. It is very rare to find such an affectionate master, especially in the current age. Guruvo Bhava Santi Shishya Vitta Paharaka Durlabo Sargurur Devi Shishya Santa Paharaka. That's from the Padma Puran. So Lord Shiva said to Parvati, "O Devi, there are many so-called gurus who are experts in plundering their disciples' wealth, but extremely rare is a bona fide guru who can permanently remove the anxieties of his disciples." Jai Srila Bhakti Bhagavatirtha Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki jai. Okay, so it is 4 minutes till 8. I think this is a good place to stop. But yeah, this is so so beautiful, the urgency. And usually we think of I don't know, me myself, I think of a topic, oh yeah, the human birth is rare. We hear that we must, there's this many forms of 8.4 million species of life. And all these different topics here again and again and again, and they don't take it seriously. Just like, yeah, I heard it a million times. Okay. But no, but just see the extreme urgency and he over and over again wouldn't sleep, wouldn't take rest, and again kept on calling him back. And like the concern, and also like when you get so many messages from people, so many questions, usually, okay, just write an answer just to, you know, just to please the person or whatever, just to get that out of the way. But no, you see the amount of care that went into just answering one question from uh, from a disciple. So yeah, this is the example of our acharyas, the extreme compassion and care for every one of them. Actually, in Srila Vaman Goswami Maharaj's, we recently published a book of Srila Vaman Goswami Maharaj's letters, and we see that same kind of care for every. Most of the letters were just written by random housewives in rural parts of Bengal, poor housewives that nobody knew. Nobody had any idea who this person is, just like small nobodies. And most of the letters in this thick book is like nearly 500 pages, I think. But most of the letters are to these housewives, simple housewives in poor villages. And we see that he would write an entire article pretty much by hands with his own hands and pen. He'd write like an entire article just for that one disciple. And nobody else would see the letter, without any expectation that anybody else would see it. He just would write it for that one person. We see the amount of love and care, even though Srila Bhakti Vallabha Tirtha Goswami Maharaj is such a big acharya. Chaitanya Gaudiya Math is one of the biggest Gaudiya Maths out of all the different branches. And he's such a big acharya. But just for one disciple, how much urgency and care and love and seriousness and that he'd give um, at such an advanced age also. So yeah, Jai. All glories to our Guru Varga. All right, so I'll just do short Mahamantra and Jai Dvani, and then if there's any points that anybody wants to mention, then you can do so. Right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari ki Jai. Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki Jai. Jai Shri Radha Nayananath Ju ki Jai. Jai Shri Gurudev ki Jai. Jai Shri Param Gurudev ki Jai. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Shri Rupanu Koriya Guru Varga ki Jai. Jai Shila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Jai Shila Bhakti Ballabha Tirtha Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Shila Bhakti Dai Madhav Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Shila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Shila Bhakti Rakshak Shridhar Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Jai Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai, all of his associates ki Jai, Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Jai Giriraj Maharaj ki Jai, Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki Jai, Jai Shri Agratala Math ki Jai, Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakraju ki Jai, Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki Jai, Jai Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Oh, what is it? Kamada Akadashi, I think. I think so. Jai Shri Kamada Akarashi Titi ki jai. Akarashi Titi Padan Kari Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Ananta Kuti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavatai Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhu Bhyayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Pranams. Dandavat pranams Nri Hari Prabhu, Bhavatarani Mataji, Rukmini Didi, Yashoda Didi, Nitai Mukesh ji, Anadi Krishna Prabhu, Pradyumna Prabhu, Mantramurti Mataji, Chattamai Mataji, Vangshiwala Prabhu, Vidyalala Sadidi, Ganga Mataji, Shash Sharma ji, Vidyalala Sadidi, and whoever else is there, Raseshwari Mataji, Indira Mataji, and see there are 8 devotees there on YouTube and Facebook. Dandavat pranams. And pranams to all the devotees watching in the future. Yeah, I found this one thing about the glories of our acharyas is that when we see the glories in one acharya, then we start to see that same glory in another acharya, and like it's their glories illuminate the glories of other acharyas. Like just reading that, I was thinking about how Srila Prabhupada, his urgency in explaining for things that maybe some of us, definitely me, take for granted. Like things to do with how the body is temporary and we're going to die and all these things. I'm just like, yeah, I heard it a million times, but no, Srila Prabhupada, like I'm not taking what he says seriously. When he repeats these points over and over again, and he's not just saying it like, like just as a routine or anything. He's saying it with all this urgency. And we see Srila Bhakti Vallabha Tirtha Goswami Maharaj and all of our acharyas, but we hear these things over and over again. And we're like, yeah, I heard this a million times. God. But no, but we're not acting on it, and we don't feel this urgency. And so it's just really inspiring to get a glimpse into that urgency that our acharyas have for us to see our situation and like wake up. Yeah. And Chatamai
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Yes.
Thank you for that insight. I'm just grateful that I get these reminders periodically, because you're saying that we forget these things, or we dismiss the urgency. It's not that important. And I think it's because of association. There are so many people in our lives that really don't believe that it's urgent, and they really believe that they have all the time in the world. And I'm just speaking for myself personally. I'm surrounded by people who really have no interest in looking forward to next life. It's just here now. Let me be comfortable. Let me have as much fun as possible. And so association is really such a big part of it. And whatever we can do to stay in touch with that association will keep us on our toes of urgency.
Yes. Very, very wonderful point. The only way we can feel that urgency is if we're in the association with others who are feeling that urgency. Yeah. And also, it's so beautiful to see how much endeavor our acharyas are giving, like how much endeavor they are, like how much they're exerting themselves to give us mercy. And then we're just like, yeah, I don't really, like, I guess I'll take the mercy. Not right now. Actually, I want to do something else. Like that, like just take it, and like so much, and then we're just like not valuing it, and so
it's devalued because population-wise, most people don't see the diamond for what it's worth. They just don't understand the worth of these talks and these truths. But we are so fortunate to have it, and to be repeating it over and over again. If I stopped listening, I would definitely succumb to that apathy. So that's why I try to stay tuned in as much as possible every day, if I can, and listen, not just once a day, right? I grew up Catholic, so my spiritual practice was once a week for an hour on Sundays. That was it. But now that I've become a Vaishnav, it's wow, every moment. It's so precious. And if you don't, you're going to get pulled down by the apathy.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Rukmini Didi?
Yeah, I was thinking that was such a wonderful point, and I wanted to follow on to you and Chotamai Didi, that it's the difference between Shreyas and Preyas. Shreyas is the long-term good, and Preyas is the short-term. And what to speak of what will happen after the end of this life? The attention span has become shorter and shorter and shorter. Like, people don't even think of what will happen in 5 years, in 3 years, maybe even in 1 year. It's so hard to get people to to think of what
the
will
rest of
happen
their
after
day?
the end of this life.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a unfortunate situation. So at least, but I'm including myself, that I'm also lackadaisical. So first I need to um look to my own. That's one thing that Srila Gurudev also always used to tell us, is look to your own prescription and always think, Shobai bhalo, ami kharap. Everyone else is good and I am bad. So, but I've seen this in myself, that I used to, have much more, forward looking, like, and that my time horizon is, I feel, getting shorter and shorter. So thank you for reminding us that, we always need to think of the real eternal benefit.
I really like that point you just made, that Sabai bhalo ami kharap. That so these instructions, they aren't meant for us to be just like, telling everybody else, but no, they're meant for me, like for me to take seriously in my own life. And like that's where we give the emphasis, not telling everybody else what they have to do, but these instructions are meant for me. And yeah. Yeah. So this book is so wonderful. I really, yeah, it's really, really nice. Yeah. All right. Are there any other points anybody wants to mention?
Thank you, Madhukar Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam. I'm now driving my car because I just got it jumped. So,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for
Congratulations. And it's so nice to hear from you with me.
There you go. All right.
Thank
Oh,
you.
and Dandavat Pranams, Shripad Bhaktivedanta Sajan Maharaj. Haribo Maharaj. Dandavat Pranam. Haribo. All right. So we'll see you all tomorrow. I think in tomorrow's reading, we're going to read about his wait, is the next one? Yeah, I think the next one is a letter that he wrote to my Srila Gurudev. No, the one after that. Yeah, the one after that is a letter that he wrote to my Gurudev right before my Gurudev entered Nitya Lila.
Hare Krishna, Madhukar Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams.
Yes, Sakura Didi, yes. Dandavat.
Oh, I Dandavat Pranams to all devotees who are listening. It's such a wonderful, and I have a little cold, so sorry. I would like to say that I've been, unfortunately, being many years ago, like 10 years ago, being in touch on a web page, I wouldn't say the name, where all the wicked people pretending to help by being psychics and with tarot cards and all kinds of nonsense. But all what they did was helping ghosts to enter into these naive people who are asking for money and problems solving, and these ghosts were real. They didn't have any how to say that, they were just people who died God knows when. They lost the human body. They lost the possibility to get another mother or a father, to get another human birth. And all what they did, these nonsense people, they helped these ghosts to enter into the body of people who were nonsense by asking for material like health and, and it was real. I was thinking, oh my God, it may happen to me, no matter I'm a devotee or not, beginning devotee or a nonsense devotee. But if I do these crazy things like only material is important, then I'll become a ghost, and unless I meet a Vaishnava to save me from my crazy mind, I will end up like this. And this is a real life. Srimad Bhagavatam explaining, to get a human body, you lose it just like in a moment by being crazy and doing nonsense in your life. And wow, we have to really be careful with these people who are dealing with them and taking their advantage, because if you're a ghost, you're more powerful than a human, but you are suffering like anything, and you need humans. But so in order to get a human life, you need a Vaishnava's blessings, and even in a human body, you need the blessing of a Vaishnava to become devotee. So, and they have no idea about this. They are so simple. So it's very, very, that's why I really got this point when you were reading. It really resounded that human body is really a gem. It's really a gift from Krishna.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have, but we're so fortunate that we have all these that these acharyas, they're taking responsibility for us. If we can just hold on to their instructions and try to follow as sincerely as we can, then our destination will only be auspicious, and we have nothing to worry about. So we must always grab onto their instructions. and even if we aren't able to, even if we're not able to fully follow everything that we hear all of a sudden, like in one day, but even if we can just every day, reading something and hearing their instructions and noting them, at least, and first it starts with just knowing it mentally, like even just, and then, when we keep on hearing them and repeating them, then maybe we'll start to follow them more and more and more. So this is why reading these words and hearing their words is so important. It's essential. Right.
This is why it's good we devotees are chanting loudly, and even the trees and the flowers and everybody get a possibility to get a human body, and even those who we cannot see them. Hare Krishna.
Jai, yes. All right, so that's our program for today, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Dandava.